Welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the show, and it is show number 193. Happy to be back with you live on Facebook. Proud member of the Education Podcast Network, as well as Voice Ed Radio Canada, or wherever you are taking in your podcast. iTunes, live, here on Facebook, wherever you are. Happy to be with you. Andrew Murata, Education, Leadership, and Beyond, show number 193. We are going to meet my paisan from Jersey, from Brooklyn, AJ Bianco today. He's an assistant principal in New Jersey. I thought I had a lot going on, but this guy is going to bring the heat. AJ got a lot going on, and I'm excited to talk to him. I think we have a lot of things in common, including that nice Italian last name and the same initials, AJ, Andrew Joseph. So looking forward to meeting AJ. He is a budding star, and he'll be joining us in just a few minutes. Today's opening topic. Oh, sorry, two more little commercials. Number one, Tales from the Hardwood, coming out this spring. It's my next book, and I'm really excited about it. Leadership lessons from my time on the court as a men's Division I basketball official. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of stories. It's going to be powerful. I hope you'll join me to celebrate the release in April. Number two, I am so blessed, so fortunate to be part of the World Education Summit. It's coming out in March. Check it out, World Education Summit. Leaders, educators from around the world. I'm thrilled to have a presentation as part of that. So I'd love you to check it out. World Education Summit, worldedsummit.com is the website. Little commercial for that. Let's get rolling. Show number 193. Sorry if you're a regular listener of the show. We had people cancel. We had people get COVID. We had all kinds of cancellations. So I'm glad AJ was able to make it today with us. But we've been off for a couple of weeks, so it might be a little rusty. Stay with me. All right. Today's topic, the assistant principal. They're always hustling. They're always doing all these different jobs. They got a boss. The principal is barking at them. They got the teachers coming to them. They got parents. They got most times they're dealing with the difficult challenges of behavior. Right? It is a hard job. Being a principal is challenging. It's hard. I think the assistant principal is, if you had to rank the two, in a way, it's harder. It's a challenging job. So for all you future leaders out there, or all you assistant principals out there right now, keep surviving and thriving. Days where you feel like you're getting killed, take a deep breath. Tomorrow's a new day, and get the small victories, right? You don't have to win all the big battles on your own. That's why you got a principal. That's why you have department chairs. That's why, but small victories, those small relationships with kids or parents, small dots of support to your teachers, to your principal, right? Get the things you got to get done and get them done and get them off your plate. And lastly, what's the thing you could bring to the school, right? What is your thing? I didn't know it when I was an assistant principal in Port Jervis, New York. Love my Port Jervis community, but I helped clean up the school, leading the smoking out of the building, making it a smoke-free environment. Certainly vapes has crept in, but I would say that was probably my biggest victory, was cleaning up the school as the assistant principal in terms of smoking, in terms of vandalism, and all of those kind of, what do they call those little crimes in the city, right? All those little irritants. And it made the school a better place. So I give a shout out to the assistant principals. And enough of me talking about assistant principals. Let's bring somebody in who is on the ground himself. Welcome, AJ Bianco, assistant principal in New Jersey. Welcome to the program.
Oh, Andrew, thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate this. This is awesome. I love being able to connect with you. Listen to you all the time. So here we go. Let's connect. Let's do this.
Yeah, and it's hard to get you. You're doing so many things. I'm glad you carved out 40 minutes for me here on the podcast.
Of course, more than anything.
But what'd you think of that, AJ? What'd you think of the job? How do you feel? You're in your second year, right, as AP, right?
Yeah.
Are you getting pulled? Are you getting killed? Tell me what's going on, and give us a little brief introduction of where you are right now.
Yeah, so this is year 2 for me, and definitely a learning experience. Last year, My first year in this building, obviously, and I was
Eastbrook Middle School, Paramus, New Jersey.
That's right, Eastbrook Middle School.
Okay.
Here we are. Last year we were remote when I stepped foot in this building. So I had an admin job. I was a supervisor of instruction prior to that, and then I left that job to come here. And I started in October. So we were remote. So I walked into a building. It was me, the principal, our two secretaries, and a couple of teachers. So I'm walking around the building, not really knowing what I'm supposed to do. You know, there really is not much. There's nobody to observe. There's nobody to talk to. Nobody to connect with. So for me coming in here, like I didn't really know what to do. It was great experience though for me because I got to learn the ins and out of the building while things were going on. So coming into the position now, it doesn't feel like year 2 for me. It doesn't even feel like year 1. It feels like I've been here for a while because last year we really got to dig in and really learn and help me push through to what we wanted to accomplish here at Eastbrook. I'm loving what I'm doing. This was a dream come true for me. Like when I took my master's courses, I wanted to be a middle school vice principal to start with because I love middle school. This is my jam. This is the kids that I want to be with. They're learning, they're growing, they're good kids, and this is a perfect place for me. So I'm definitely loving this. I'm definitely loving the experience. Some great teachers here, some creative teachers here, and they're really, buying into what we're selling here as the admin team.
I like it. AJ, my kind of mindset, right? Surviving and thriving, things that we're fighting through and things that we're getting victories on. So give me one of each. What's something that you would say you're just surviving right now, but where's an area you're thriving? Give me one of each.
Yeah, so you were mentioning it, like I'm surviving discipline right now. I'm not a big discipline guy to begin with. In my classroom, discipline was simple. It was about building relationships. But now in this role, I can't keep up with everything. You're talking about vandalism. And of course, there's things going on in the school that like bathroom stuff, right? Kids are throwing wads of toilet paper against the wall. They're tagging up the bathroom a little bit and we're knocking that out. We're stopping that. So discipline for middle school, I'm sure, Andrew, you know exactly what that looks like right now. I'm barely surviving that because it gets me angry, right? I feel like I'm building relationships, and this goes to the thriving. I'm building relationships with my staff and my students, but when the teachers, have a hard time with the kids, I feel disrespected because I feel like I'm not making the connections enough to get the kids to actually like sit down, listen, do the things they're supposed to do being in a school setting. So surviving discipline, thriving with relationships, just because there's so many kids here that I'm connecting with on different levels, whether they're sitting in my office just to hang out for a little bit, or if they're in my office for a discipline reason, we can chat. That's my philosophy. Get to know the kids, build that relationship, put them in the right place, counsel them, teach them, and let them go on their way.
Yeah. And it's such a challenge because so many of those things are kind of out of your reach. These incidents that you're dealing with were not happening when you were present, right? So it's kind of like you had to piece it together. Mm-hmm. But AJ, I'll share with you one of the things here. You try to build those relationships. Positive signage, I think, is so important, right? Middle school kids, all kids are being told, don't do this, don't do that, no smoking, no standing, no running, no that. I tried to turn all of our signage into positive, right? Please walk safely in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
Please pick up your litter. Please, show respect for this space. Things like that, and that's helped. So I'll share a few examples with you. Have you noticed any of the signage where you're at? What does it look like there?
So I appreciate you saying that because one of the things I'm trying to really push forward is this idea of PBIS, right? The positive behavior. So mm-hmm. like one of the things that I'm trying to get to the students is, are there positive messages? Is there enough positivity around the school? And I like that you said the positive signage, because while we can be kind, while we can use positive words, that signage maybe is not as present throughout a lot of the classrooms and throughout the building that it could be. So I appreciate that, Andrew. And
I think we need to model that, right? We want the positivity from the kids, but what is everything they're seeing? Don't do this, don't do that, don't touch, don't hit, don't this, don't. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, what can we do? What are the behaviors we want to promote? AJ, we talked a little bit about discipline. How do you make sure you're an academic leader in your building where you're not just chasing down wet paper towels on the wall, but more increasing what kids are learning, increase the capacity of the teachers to maybe have some different teaching strategies?
Yeah, I'm trying to be as visible as possible, right? I'm trying to get in the classrooms. I'm trying to, help the teachers grow, help them learn. I came in here because of my instruction. I pride myself in the technology that I have, that I know how to use technology and use it efficiently and effectively in a classroom. So I try to bring that to the teachers, but also just I like to collaborate with the teachers. I'm at their team meetings whenever I have the ability to be there. And I really want to push this idea of, for me in my classroom, it was problem-based learning, project-based learning, and the flipped classroom. So I really am trying to bring that as best I can to my staff, because that's not something that they were familiar with, but now they're starting to see it a little bit. I work with the teachers, I work with our instructional coach, I'm working with supervisors. We're just trying to pick up and put in place these great practices that will help our students. So while I'm not in every classroom every day for various reasons, I try to be as present and get to the classrooms that I can, especially if there's a concern that I can go and say, hey, I noticed this, why don't we try to work with this? And I even say, I'll come and model a lesson for you. I don't mind. I miss teaching sometimes. So I will model a lesson and show you what it could look like and how it could work for you.
Right, because they think, well, who is this guy is now to teach? I'm the one in here. Well, you might have some tricks up your sleeve.
A little bit.
And it's hard, AJ, right? You don't ever want to go into someone's space. One of the things I learned was maybe you're watching something and it's going sideways in the class, and it's called on-demand feedback, right? And maybe you kind of step in right there and say, well, hey, what about this? And now you're able to introduce that strategy kind of in the moment, right? And that's a delicate balance, but the on-demand feedback, the live feedback is something, as you get more experience, that I've tried to bring to my game. Instead of sitting there watching the whole thing, and then maybe you go back a couple of days later and you kind of model it right there because you saw it, but that's a delicate balance, because you don't want to be in there to get in someone's space, right? It's like when your wife's cooking, don't be going in there. AJ, you're a second year assistant principal. Talk to me about developing your leadership, right? You're a strong person. You have a strong personality. But how about your points of leadership? What are 2 or 3 things that you're really saying, wow, I feel confident, I feel good in this? How are you growing in your leadership?
My principal that I work with, he's a great guy. He's been in this school for 10 years. He was the assistant principal for 8 years. He stepped into this role now for his second year. So I lean on him a lot of times. He knows the teachers, he knows the community, he knows the kids. So I kind of bring some ideas like, I would like to do this. How do you think this would play out with the staff? So we really bounce ideas back and forth. Things that he's never tried that he wanted to try, he'll put on me. So we work really nicely together, again, because he's been here. He knows he's pushing me to do the things that he never got a chance to do that he knows are going to help the school right now. So him and I, we constantly talk, we constantly communicate. We're really a team. Well, like principal, assistant principal, we're really a team. But then like outside of that, because I like getting feedback from other people, I have a great mentor from another principal from a local district. He's my Leaders to Leaders in New Jersey. We have this program. He's my mentor. His name is Carroll. Great guy, great principal, innovative dude. I have respected him for so long before I became an assistant principal that just now getting the chance to work with him closely, I see a different light, and I really appreciate what he's given. And finally, I'm not trying to blow smoke, Andrew, but people like you, I learn from you. I'm listening to this podcast a lot. We do some things together every now and then. My guys from Unlock the Middle, Dean and Chris, like I've had some great mentors outside of New Jersey, outside of my realm here that I'm really learning from, because, I don't want to keep things too close here because it's different everywhere else. And learning what you're doing in New York, learn what they're doing in Massachusetts, connecting with my APs. Like I just like to learn because I want to see what else I can do that's really going to make some changes to our school for the better.
Yeah. And that's great for you for being outside your community too. There's a lot to learn in-house, but you getting on social media. So tell me about that journey, AJ, because you are active. You do run your podcast, Unlocking the Middle, right? And I love that concept of unlocking these ideas and the sharing. So tell me about that journey. How did you start to say like, wow, this could be helpful not only to me, but to those I'm working with?
So let me go way back, right? In 2009, I was a classroom teacher. It was probably my 5th year or so. And I was miserable, right? I didn't like teaching. So I jumped on social media and I didn't really know what it was besides like listening to sports and like connecting with the shows I was listening to. All of a sudden I found this community of educators and I started following people. And then I started to grow. Then I started to do more social media things, started going to these local conferences and doing things like that. And I started opening my eyes to different things in education. From there, I found my itch to like lead, to do these PD things and really be involved. I started to find where I was comfortable. I met up with Chris Nessie, the podcast god that I call him.
The guru.
The guru. There you go. He started getting involved with it with me, and we started doing the podcast together with Stacy called Podcast PD. And from there, I just really enjoyed doing the podcast thing. That like I started just listening and grabbing and gravitating towards different things. Dean and Chris were doing Unlock the Middle on like Saturday mornings, and I was listening to it while I was doing my workout, and I love what they were doing. I reached out to them. They brought me in for an episode, and then it became like a weekly thing on Unlock the Middle. And they're like, "Hey, we need you to run the AP podcast." I was like, hold on a second here. Like another podcast for me. So Dean and Chris really allowed me to jump in there and start the AP podcast. They hooked me up with Ryan Scott and Mike Lavelle, who are two APs that we do they're my co-hosts. And I love being able to connect with them. We chat, we work together, trying to figure out topics. Without those two guys, I don't think I'd be able to do that podcast. I'll be honest with you.
Okay. Well, I'm so happy to hear that you are growing. I think it's important, right? You're developing your own leadership. You're developing these habits and techniques, and I see you out there. So kudos for you for doing that. You mentioned your principal. What's one thing you saw him do? Like, wow, oh my God, like I want to do it in that manner. Like, what's a strategy or a technique that you saw him like, wow, man, that was great.
He has a lot of knowledge. I can't pick one thing. And I thought about this one. What's the one thing that stands out? I just think that he's got a lot of knowledge. I think he knows how to communicate ideas, especially to the staff, right? For me, sometimes I have an idea and I'm like, I'm just going to share out this idea and I'm just going to say it and I'm just going to put it out there and we're going to listen to me and I'm going to speak for 5 seconds and that's it. That's my idea. He's got a really great way of bringing the idea to the staff, explaining the purpose of it, and then like just continue to speak on it. Like he has that about him that I really appreciate because like, look, I'll be honest. I'm not really good with words. I might do this podcast thing and fake it for as much as I can, but he can really elaborate and he can bring out like the best in people when he explains the ideas. It's so coherent that I'm like, man, I don't know if I could do that. So I appreciate that because I think that's so important because it leaves no questions. He's so detailed that everybody understands the expectations just from him. That it's like, anybody have questions? It's like, no questions, because everything was so eloquent and he elaborates and everything is so clear. I really appreciate that. I mean, that's not the only thing he does, obviously, but that's one thing that I've noticed.
Yeah. And that's a great strategy. You and I were talking off air a little bit about maybe sometimes our mind goes faster than our voices or the plan, right? But you look at a Jerry Seinfeld, you look at a Kevin Hart, right? Like, oh, wow, it looks easy to deliver jokes on stage to thousands of people. But it's the back work, and you'll learn that more from your principal, about the delivery and the organizing of the idea. But that's a great leadership skill. So good for you for noticing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. AJ, busy. I have 3 children also. We're doing some stuff outside our role as an AP or a principal, right? We're going to have some other projects going on. But your family is so important to you, and you have 3 small children. How do you balance all of this stuff? How do you balance the stresses of the job, taking care of yourself? You mentioned working out in the morning, you listen to a podcast, but how do you balance that time with your family as well?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I wake up early. I wake up before everybody else. I'm up by like 5 o'clock every day. I need my me time. So I'll get up, have a cup of coffee, read some articles, listen to a podcast. This way I don't have to do that later on when the kids are up on a weekend, especially, so I get up 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on the weekends, maybe, but that me time is really helps me get to where I want to be for the day. If I don't have that time, I'll be honest, I'm a little off because I feel like I have so much I want to get done that it ruins me for the rest of the day. But, in the morning is me. And when the kids wake up, it's the kids. The first thing that we do, we'll have breakfast together, or I'll pack them up, get them ready for the day, whether it's school, whether it's sports. But when the kids are around, I really try to be with the kids. I do my podcast stuff when they're in bed. 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. I know it's late for some people, but that's like my time to shine. I'm a night owl, and I start going at that time. I'll do my workout, I'll do my podcast, I'll do the things I'll do my work. I'll do the things that I don't want to do when the kids are around, because I don't want to give up that time. I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old, and I want to give them my time. When daddy is home, daddy's home. I'm trying my best to put the cell phone down, not checking an email unless I know it's really important, not checking Twitter or Instagram when they're around, unless it's like just downtime or watching a TV show, but I'm really trying to be more present, because I don't want to show them that, like, I don't want their memories to be daddy, working too much, daddy on the phone, daddy doing this. If I have a game, I want them to be at the game. I want to be their coach. So I'm coaching my son's baseball teams. I'm doing as much as I can to be active and present whenever I'm around. I love doing this stuff, but again, this stuff becomes like second priority to me, and that's when they're in bed. And I hate saying it, like, sometimes I put time with my wife on the side, but like, we have scheduled days where we'll watch a movie together as long as everything else is done. But that balance is something I'm really trying to work on, especially now in this role. But I think I'm getting to a point where I feel comfortable with that balance.
Good for you. And I think that's so important for our listeners to hear, right, from a young leader like yourself. If you're watching live, I'd love for you to jump in with a comment or a question. And you're right, AJ, right? Your children are watching, and they are seeing what you're doing. But if you're up late at night and you're doing all this stuff, but then you're up at 5, where's the rest? Where is that downtime for you? Like, that's something I struggle with is the rest. People say, Andrew, you have a ton of energy. I'm like, yeah, I go to bed at 9 o'clock. How do you do both?
That's hard. Like, sometimes I'm in bed at 11, sometimes I'm in bed at midnight. Really, it's just about discipline now, getting out of bed when it's time to get out of bed. So if I got to stay up late doing something, or if I'm watching a movie or watching a show late with my wife, I make sure that I'm out of bed. I don't really feel like I need to sleep. Yeah, I get a little tired, but that's what the coffee is for. I'll drink 3 or 4 cups of coffee a day. So that might do it for me. But that's just something I've learned. I'm a night owl. I've learned that from my mom. She doesn't sleep much either. But like, it's that discipline now, that this is what I do. This is kind of how I'm wired, that I just kind of fell into it over the last 10, 12 years. So I don't sleep much, unfortunately.
All right. Well, hey, man, I have mine are 15, 13, and 10 now. And when we're done here, I'm running. I got practice tonight. I may or may not have shorts on under this college shirt. And while my daughter's in practice, I'm going to be doing laps at her middle school, while she's there, to get the exercise in. AJ, another balance. You're a big sports fan. You're a big Yankees fan, but baseball was a big part of your life growing up, and still is. What is the strategy that you've taken from the baseball diamond and now put into your role as a leader?
So everybody kind of bashes baseball, right? They call it slow. It's just like you're sitting there watching paint dry. But like with me with baseball, it's that thinking approach, right? You always are thinking like, what's next? What do I do in this situation? So that was what baseball was for me as an outfielder, or even when I played, shortstop, second base. It was quick. The ball is going to be hit to me. What am I doing in this situation? Right. So I'm always on my toes, always making moves, always doing something, because you can't just stay still. So that kind of sums me up to a T. I can't stay still. I'm always thinking about something. So with baseball, besides it being a team, because I'm totally team oriented, just knowing that like something is going to happen. What do I do in that situation? Where do I go if this pops up? Who do I talk to? Who do I need to see? What kind of student, what day is this student going to have when I see them come in the building? So for me, it's just like always having my head ready to go. I'm on a swivel thinking about what's next, and always trying to put the pieces together. So when the ball's hit to me, I can handle that with no problem, that I'm not on my heels, that I'm on my toes, ready to jump and make that play.
Nice. And you hear that about baseball being bored, but those that are dialed in can see all those little intricacies. A friend of mine gave me the concept of, Andrew, keep hitting singles, right? We all want to land that big job or land that great idea of, oh my God, you brought this to the school because you did, right? But my friend said, Andrew, just keep hitting singles and good things will happen. What do you think of that idea?
I totally agree with that. Like I use a coaching when I talk to my kids. I always say station to station, base to base, right? We'll get to our end goal as long as we keep doing the things we're supposed to do. Fundamentals is what's going to get us to the next spot, right? I'm a Yankee fan. So when my Yankees hit a home run and it's a solo home run, it doesn't do anything for you, right? It's getting guys on base and then continuously knocking them in, putting them in a position that they're going to score and they're going to keep doing the things they have to do. That's the way I look at our school. Right? We're not going to do one thing overnight that's going to be fantastic. We're going to do the small things over every day that's really going to make our school great year after year after year.
AJ, you mentioned about a regret that you didn't push yourself harder when you played, that you didn't go more into it. Share a little bit about that, and what do you think it was that was holding you back?
So I'm not going to, I was a good ball player, right? I enjoyed the game. I loved the game. I saw the game differently. And I thought I was good, right? But my dad's like, go outside, go take 100 swings, go hit the tee, go do the, I did that, but I didn't do it the right way. I heffed it, right? I look at myself now and I feel the same way sometimes that like, am I doing enough? Because I know I could have done more for baseball. I could have gone to college and I could have taken the steps to play. But when I got to college, I said, I'll wait and maybe they'll call me. I already sent the email to the coach, let me know. I went to college, I sent that email and I missed a tryout. So like sitting back and thinking that like everything's going to play out the way I expected, kind of put me in a bad situation. I never played in college. My freshman year, I was miserable. I wanted to play so badly. But because I didn't take that initiative, that I didn't work hard, or I didn't get to the point where I could have pushed myself to be in that spot, I missed out. So even to this day, I tell my kids, my own kids, like, we got to work. We got to get out there. We got to start swinging. We got to like look in the mirror. We got to like see ourselves doing these things, because I didn't do that stuff. And I held back thinking that I was good enough and that somebody's going to find me and somebody's going to pick me up for a college and I'm going to play no matter what. Well, now I'm almost 40 years old and I play softball. I didn't get the chance that some of my buddies did go into the minor leagues because they continue to work and they took that extra time to go to those clinics or go to those tryouts. I was afraid sometimes of not making a team, so I didn't go with them. So, even when I look at like my job now, I don't want to sit here and say, what could I have done today that would have made it a better day? I just kind of like, I got to jump into things because I can't have that self-doubt.
Well, good for you for talking on that and noticing that, and you're modeling that for kids now. You're modeling that for other people, and you could share that story, right? People are afraid to talk about maybe mistakes or like you said, not a mistake, but maybe I didn't go hard enough. And the fact that you talk about that, I think, is a great leadership strategy. Good for you there. AJ, what's something that you wanted to talk about or something that you were prepared to talk about that I didn't ask you?
Look, we can keep going. I can talk about podcasting all day. I know this is about me. So I have a variety of podcasts. I'm on Podcast PD with Chris and Stacy. I have my own podcast, Reflect Ed. I have the Reflect Ed Live podcast that I do with Dave Frangiosa on every other Thursday night. I got the AP podcast that you mentioned, but like podcasting for me is huge because like this allows me to talk and allows me to grow. Sometimes I'm going to go back to the baseball thing. I get nervous that like I'm putting myself out there too much and not saying the right thing, or maybe I'm not the expert of some of these. So like I kind of sit back with some of the podcasts, but podcasting for me has really allowed me to open up and learn from some outstanding leaders and outstanding teachers who I never really knew about up until that point. And it's really getting me to a place where I get excited about education. When I'm in a slump, I go to a podcast, I talk to some people, and all of a sudden I'm back ready to go.
Yeah. Well, and I would tell you the same thing that you told yourself about the baseball, right? Don't hold back, right? Just because you happen to have a mic in front of you doesn't make you an expert, but it doesn't mean you can't learn about it and talk about it and model going after something, right? So that's cool that you found it. Maybe you could bring that to your school one day.
That's what the plan is. Believe me. Once all this COVID stuff goes away.
We started something here. I do video announcements tomorrow, Friday, called Port Center. We're Port Jervis, right? So then I do a little show called Port Center Spotlight, and I interview kids and staff. And so, hey, maybe get started in your school. Share those passions.
I want to. Believe me.
Cool. AJ, it's bottom of the ninth here. Let's get rolling in rapid fire. I know you got stuff to do. What's next? And I appreciate the time here. But these are rapid fire questions, quick answers, whatever comes first to your head. Are you ready?
Ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Last book you read?
Called Quiet by Susan Cain. It's Quiet, the power of introverts in a world that can't stop talking.
Wow, from someone who's a talker. That's cool. Learn the other side.
Yep.
My wife would like that. Quiet.
It's a good book. Quiet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking for one on my iTunes. You getting up early there? I would recommend 5 a.m. Club. I don't know if you've read that.
Okay.
But
I'll check it out.
it's about achieving your goals there at 5 o'clock in the morning. So
I love it.
Last movie you saw?
Last movie, I'm gonna go with Encanto because it was a family movie. I haven't been to a movie theater in 3 years, so Encanto.
You loved it, right?
It was good. Music was banging, man. I loved it.
The music was banging. I loved it. Us too. We watched it last weekend.
There you go.
Favorite place to travel?
Lake George. I love it up there. It's gorgeous. I got a buddy up there. I go up there every summer.
Nice. A journal or a blog you subscribe to?
I would say yours. I have yours. I get it every week. Let's go with my guy Jake Thompson and Compete Every Day. A little bit of motivational messages. Every other day he sends that out. Check that out. Compete Every Day.
Compete every day, but he sends it every other day. Come on.
Well, he's got a podcast. He's got a podcast. Okay. The other day he doesn't send it out.
Okay, cool. A stress reliever for you?
Peloton all day.
Nice. What's something that gets under your skin, AJ? What's a pet peeve of yours?
Self-doubt. My own self-doubt. Everybody's self-doubt.
At 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, I'll feel
ready to go. I've already had 3 hours awake, so I feel good. I feel caffeinated, and I'm ready to start the day with the kids.
What kind of coffee you drink? You mentioned coffee a few times.
Look, I got my Keurig. That thing works on repeat. So I got my Keurig. I got to fill it up. So whatever, I don't even know what kind of coffee. Whatever's available, just put it in there for me. Give me the caffeine.
I'm a coffee snob, so yeah, I'm picky. Best purchase under $100 that has had a great impact on your life.
I think you're going to appreciate this. It's the Rocketbook, notebook. I love that thing. That Rocketbook, that erasable notebook. I love it. Check it out, everybody.
Well, you let me know which one you have, and I'll send you maybe a different size. But I also have an organization template that might help you.
I think so. Let's talk about it.
We talked a little bit about that. Favorite joke about living in New Jersey?
See, I don't know. I'm a New Yorker through and through. I'm just living in New Jersey because my wife is from Jersey. I'll give you a joke. I actually had to look this one up, right? So the joke is, what did Delaware?
What?
A New Jersey.
Thing you missed, well, and I know we talked a little bit about that. You didn't grow up there, but you talked a little bit about it. You know, when you go back to Brooklyn, when you talk to your family from Brooklyn, what is something that, again, you were born there that you miss about Brooklyn?
I miss being so family oriented. I love my family. I miss my family. I have family out in Long Island. My parents are in South Jersey, but I just miss that connection. Like, listen to the stories my sister had about being in Brooklyn, my dad had about the parks. I just miss that connectedness that we had as a family. I don't have that here. You know, it's traveling, it's doing that. You have to make time. In Brooklyn, it sounds like you could just go down the street, yell out someone's name, and you're related.
Sit on the stoop.
There you go.
I know this is a tough question. So give me your top 3, your top 5 Yankees. You know, I don't want to hold you to one. Give me a handful.
All right. So all time, my favorite is DiMaggio. Love DiMaggio. I love his hustle. I love everything about him. See, this is going to be different because I'm not going to say like just the big names. I'm going to say Babe Ruth, but definitely DiMaggio, definitely Gehrig for his work ethic. Phil Rizzuto, because he was tiny and an amazing ball player. And then I'm going to go current. I'm going to go Paul O'Neill is my favorite Yankee, and Bernie Williams. Those are my guys because I was an outfielder.
No Derek Jeter?
I'm not, no disrespect. No, I'm just saying, if I wanted it to be a Yankee, I wanted to be Bernie Williams and Paul O'Neill back in the 90s.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. And Bernie's an interesting guy with the music. And all that.
I got a CD. You kidding me?
Yeah. And Paul wrote a nice book with him and his dad about the relationship with his father. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. That's it. That was very different. Yeah.
Told you.
I want to give a shout out to my sister, Bleeding Yankee Blue. She writes a blog for them, Bleeding Yankee Blue.
I'll check that out.
I'm gonna give her your top 5. She might be calling you.
Well, Chris Nessie and I have a Yankee podcast called The Chase for 28, so maybe we can get her on one day.
She would give you a run for your money. Let me tell you.
All right.
You think I'm a lot of Murata. I'm subdued compared to her. She's at Susie Prof. Check her out.
Okay. I'll check her out.
Something about AJ Bianco that people do not know about.
I love to cook. I am the cook in the house. My wife is the baker. I'm the cook. I love spending my time cooking and doing a little bit of barbecue for the family.
Nice. AJ the baker. Your go-to exercise routine?
Right now, like I said, Peloton. So like I'm on the bike. I'm doing some like body weight nonsense. I'm just trying to stay in shape that way. So I go with that. I'm not no more of that bodybuilding nonsense that I used to do in the gym. I keep it to my home routine.
Get it in shape, baby. AJ, you mentioned the podcast. I got your Twitter handle underneath. What would be the best way? People say, hey, I want to follow some of these things. What would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, you can get me on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, AJ Bianco. I'm all over that. Check out the podcast, Reflect Ed, Podcast PD, the AP Roundtable, Chase for 28 if you like the Yankees. That's where I am. Connect with me. I'd love to have the conversations. I love learning. I love meeting new people. If you're in education, we definitely have a lot to talk about.
I love it. I'm inspired, AJ, about that. You're willing to do so much more. You're willing to learn. You're willing to put the voice out there, like you said. So that's inspiring to me. AJ, how about a quote? Can you end us with a quote here?
Yeah, one of my quotes, and I got quotes around my room right now, but I wrote one down because this is one of my favorites. Don't let yesterday take up too much of today, because I've been guilty of that a number of times.
I like it. Don't let yesterday take too much of today. This is AJ Bianco. AJ, you got a bright future in front of you. Kudos to your leadership and all that you're bringing to the table and what you're doing, right, for your school, your community, outside. I think it's great. And again, I think it's inspiring. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Cool. Stay on the line. This is Education, Leadership, and Beyond, show number 193. If I could help you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out at Andrew Murata. We are going to sign off here on 193.